How far would you go when freedom is only a dream beyond the wire? For prisoners of war, escape wasn't adventure, it was survival and sheer will. Many films have tried to capture that feeling of fear, courage, and fragile hope, but only a few truly got it right. These are the 15 POW escape films that real survivors watched and said, "That's exactly how it felt." Number 15. Hart's War, 2002. Sometimes the real fight begins behind the wire. Hart's War surprised audiences by showing that courage doesn't always wear a uniform. It can hide behind guilt and doubt. Set in a German prison camp during the final stretch of the Second World War, Bruce Willis plays a senior officer while Colin Farrell becomes a young law student turned reluctant soldier who finds himself defending a fellow inmate accused of betrayal. What makes this film stand out is its atmosphere of moral tension. It's not just about escaping, it's about finding honor in a place designed to strip it away. Director Gregory Hoblit, known for crime dramas, turned the barracks into a courtroom, forcing characters to confront loyalty, prejudice, and conscience. While the movie takes liberties with procedure, its portrayal of the prison hierarchy, coded communication, and constant psychological pressure was praised by actual veterans. Many noted how the film captured the strange rhythm of captivity, the endless boredom, punctuated by moments of terror. Hart's War may look polished, but underneath its Hollywood gloss lies something brutally real. The quiet exhaustion of men trapped between duty and despair. It wasn't about breaking free, it was about not breaking at all. Number 14. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, 1983. Before David Bowie was Ziggy Stardust or a pop icon, he was a British officer in a prisoner camp, at least on screen. Merry Christmas? Mr. Lawrence isn't your typical escape film. It's quieter, more psychological, and far more unsettling. Set in a Japanese camp in Java during the Second World War, the film explores the cultural clash between East and West, discipline and compassion power, and guilt. Bowie plays Major Jack Selliers, a man haunted by his past and drawn into a strange bond with the camp's Japanese commander, played by the great Ryuichi Sakamoto. The relationship between captor and captive blurs, creating an eerie tension that feels almost spiritual. Director Nagisa Oshima avoids cliches of brutality and instead focuses on emotional warfare, the kind that breaks a man from the inside. Survivors of Pacific camps later remarked that the movie captured something others missed: the silence, the waiting, the unbearable heat, the unspoken respect between enemies who could never say it aloud. There's no great escape sequence here, but there is liberation, the kind that happens in the soul. Bowie's final moments are haunting, and when the credits roll, you realize the bars were never just made of steel. Number 13. The Hill, 1965. Forget heroic tunneling or clever disguises. The Hill is about breaking men, not freeing them. Directed by Sidney Lumet, this British powerhouse of a film throws you into a desert military prison where soldiers are punished by their own army. The hill is a giant mound of sand, and climbing it again and again under the blazing sun becomes both torture and symbol. Sean Connery, fresh off his James Bond fame, gives one of his most intense performances as a soldier, questioning authority in a place where reason has died. Lumet shot the film in harsh sunlight, with jagged camera angles that make every grain of sand feel like a razor. Real veterans from North Africa confirmed the realism, the stifling heat, the power games, the breaking points. The Hill isn't about escaping walls, but escaping madness. It shows how confinement can turn soldiers into shadows of themselves, even when the enemy is on your own side. It's not an easy watch, but that's the point. Lumet forces you to sweat, to ache, to feel every command barked into the dry air. When Connery's character finally rebels, it's not a fight for freedom. It's a fight to remain human. Number 12. The Captive Heart, 1946. Right after the war ended, audiences didn't need heroes, they needed truth. The Captive Heart was one of the first post-war films to explore life inside a German POW camp with remarkable restraint and empathy. Michael Redgrave stars as a Czech officer posing as a British soldier to avoid execution. Trapped among real prisoners, he becomes their confidant and, ironically, their moral compass. The film's strength lies in its authenticity. Many of the extras were actual former POWs, still carrying the pale, hollow look of captivity. Their input shaped the set design, the routines, and the quiet rituals that filled long days behind the wire writing letters, shaving with dull blades, pretending tomorrow might be better. Instead of action, the film offers emotional realism. It captures the aching loneliness of men writing to wives and families they might never see again. Redgrave delivers a performance filled with quiet dignity, reminding viewers that sometimes survival depended on small acts of decency. Critics at the time called it too soft, but survivors disagreed. They said it finally showed what being a prisoner really felt like: endless waiting, fragile hope, and the dream of a sky without fences. Number 11. The Password is Courage, 1962. Now, here's a film that blends gallows humor with guts. The Password is Courage stars Dirk Bogarde as Sergeant Major Charles Coward. Yes, that's his real name, a British POW who earned his legend by constantly escaping, scheming, and infuriating his German captors during the war. The story is based on Coward's real-life exploits, and Bogarde plays him with mischievous charm and nerves of steel. Unlike most prisoner films drenched in despair, this one has a spark. Coward's defiance isn't just physical, it's psychological. He steals supplies, forges, passes, and even impersonates guards to smuggle food and medicine to others. The tone borders on comedy, but it's all rooted in truth. Actual POWs who knew Coward said he really was that audacious. He treated captivity like a game he refused to lose, proving that morale was sometimes the best weapon. Bogarde's delivery keeps things light, but you never forget the stakes. Filmed partly in real European locations, The Password is Courage reminds us that laughter can survive even in the darkest barracks. It's less about running for the fence and more about the courage to keep one's spirit unbroken. Because sometimes defiance itself is escape. Number 10. Von Ryan's Express, 1965. If there's such a thing as a thrill ride through wartime captivity, Von Ryan's Express is it. Frank Sinatra, playing Colonel Joseph Ryan, leads a group of Allied prisoners who hijack a German train through occupied Italy. It's half-war story, half-escape fantasy, and somehow still feels grounded in real tension. Sinatra's Ryan is no flawless hero. He's cynical, pragmatic, and constantly clashing with the British officers under his command. That human friction gives the film its edge. Directed by Mark Robson, it's fast-paced, but never cartoonish. The cramped train cars, the coded signals, the quick disguises, they all feel surprisingly authentic. Survivors of Italian POW camps later said, the movie captured the chaos of retreat in the war's final years. Guards unsure, prisoners desperate, and every plan balanced on luck. The film's final sequence, with a desperate dash for the Swiss border, remains one of the most suspenseful endings in war cinema. Sinatra insisted on doing many of his own scenes on the moving train, adding a realism that's rare for the era. It's not historically perfect, but emotionally, it nails it. The fear, the improvisation, the raw drive to keep moving no matter what. And that ending still hits like a gut punch decades later. Number 9, The Mackenzie Break, 1970. You don't usually root for the enemy in a POW film, but The Mackenzie Break flips that on its head. Set in a Scottish camp for captured German officers, this tense British thriller follows a battle of wits between the cunning German commander played by Helmut Greim and an Irish intelligence officer sent to stop his escape. Director Lamont Johnson treats the camp like a chessboard. Every conversation is a move, every gesture a feint. What makes it fascinating is its attention to the psychology of captivity, how discipline, hierarchy, and ego can turn even prisoners into soldiers of strategy. The Germans' escape plan, involving coded music and buried tunnels, is based loosely on real POW ingenuity during the war. Actual Allied guards and historians later praised the film's realism, the authenticity of uniforms, the social tension, and the constant undercurrent of suspicion. There's no sentimental heroism here, just professionals locked in a deadly game. The film ends not with triumph, but with exhaustion, as both sides realize that control like freedom comes at a cost. It's cold, clever, and criminally underrated, showing that escape films can be intellectual battles just as much as physical ones. Number 8. Escape from Sobibor, 1987. Some escapes aren't about survival, they're about defiance. Escape from Sobibor tells the true story of one of the most daring uprisings in wartime history, led by prisoners who refused to die quietly. Starring Rutger Hauer and Alan Arkin, the film chronicles how inmates in the Sobibor camp planned and executed a breakout that saw over 300 people flee captivity. Unlike most POW films set in military prisons, this one is rooted in pure humanity, the will to live and to resist. The production team consulted real survivors, including Thomas Blatt, whose memories shaped the script. Their input gave the film emotional precision, the whispered meetings, the silent signals, the calculated calm before chaos. What's striking is the balance between fear and courage. The film doesn't glorify violence or revenge. It shows ordinary people pushed to extraordinary choices. Hauer's performance, restrained and haunted, captures the weight of leadership under impossible pressure. When it aired, survivors of Sobibor called it one of the most accurate portrayals ever made. It's grim, yes, but essential, because sometimes the greatest escape isn't just from walls, but from the idea that hope can be taken away. Number 7. The One That Got Away, 1957. Most escape films show Allied prisoners running from German camps. This one flips the script completely. The One That Got Away tells the true story of Franz von Vera, the only German airman to escape from British captivity and make it back home. Hardy Kruger plays von Vera with icy charm and relentless determination. Shot on real locations in Canada and the United Kingdom, the film captures not just his ingenuity, but also the grudging respect his captors had for him. Every detail from the handcuffs to the train routes is lifted straight from war records. What separates this film from propaganda is its honesty. It doesn't paint von Vera as a hero or villain, just a man obsessed with freedom. The escape sequence across the frozen Canadian wilderness feels almost documentary-like, filmed in biting cold to mirror the real conditions. Decades later, surviving Allied guards admitted that the film got the tone exactly right. The professionalism, the tension, the strange mutual admiration between enemies. The One That Got Away is less about who's right or wrong and more about how impossible it is to cage the human will once it decides to run. Number 6. The Bridge on the River, Kwai, 1957. Whistling soldiers, bamboo huts, and madness beneath the tropical sun. The bridge on the River Kwai might look like a grand adventure, but beneath that spectacle lies one of the most psychologically sharp depictions of captivity ever filmed. David Lean's direction turns a prisoner camp into a theater of pride and obsession. Alec Guinness's Colonel Nicholson refuses to be broken even if it means cooperating with his captors to build a bridge for them. His pride becomes both his armor and his downfall. Shot in Ceylon with intense realism, the production recreated the suffocating jungle and the constant torment of exhaustion. Surviving POWs from the Burma Railway later praised its authenticity, the heat, the insects, the slow erosion of sanity. While the story takes dramatic liberties, its emotional truth is dead on. What Lean captured wasn't just escape, it was the irony of captivity, that a man could lose himself while trying to preserve his dignity. The final explosion remains one of cinema's most haunting moments, not for its spectacle, but for what it says about obsession and the blurry line between honor and ruin. Madness, mutters the final line, and no word sums it up better. Number 5. King Rat, 1965. In a world stripped of rules, who really wins, the man with power or the man with principles? King Rat dives deep into the moral swamp of a prisoner camp, where survival depends on cunning rather than courage. Directed by Brian Forbes and based on James Clavell's novel, drawn from his own POW experience, the film exposes the dark economy that thrives behind the wire. George Segal stars as Corporal King, a smooth-talking American who trades and bribes his way to comfort inside a Japanese prison camp in Singapore. He's no villain, just a man who learned that survival sometimes means bending every rule. Opposite him stands James Fox as an idealistic British officer who can't quite decide whether to despise or admire him. Shot in grim black and white, the film strips away all glamour. There are no grand escapes here, only moral ones. Veterans later praised how King Rat captured the psychological divide between men who adapted and those who couldn't. Clavell himself survived the Changi camp, and his writing oozes authenticity, the smells, the sickness, the slow decay of discipline. King Rat reminds us that captivity doesn't just test courage, it exposes character. And sometimes the cleverest rat survives while the proudest soldier fades away. Number 4. The Wooden Horse, 1950. Before there were tunnels in The Great Escape, there was a gymnastic vaulting horse. The Wooden Horse tells one of the earliest and most ingenious escape stories of the Second World War. And it's all true. British prisoners in Stalag Luft III built a full-size wooden horse used for daily exercise, hiding men inside it to dig a tunnel right under the guards' noses. What makes this film remarkable is its understatement. There's no sweeping score or Hollywood drama, just quiet, meticulous tension. Every shovel of dirt feels like a heartbeat. Director Jack Lee shot it with an almost documentary tone, using minimal dialogue and relying on sound design, the scrape of tools, the shuffle of boots to pull you in. The real-life escape led by Eric Williams and his comrades inspired POWs everywhere and even laid the groundwork for later breakouts. Williams wrote the book himself, and the film follows it faithfully. Former prisoners later confirmed that this was exactly how it was. The patience, the teamwork, the small victories that kept men sane. It's not flashy, but it's brilliant. The Wooden Horse proves that ingenuity, discipline, and a little bit of daring can turn the simplest idea into a doorway to freedom. Number 3. The Colditz Story, 1955. If you've ever heard the phrase escape-proof, Colditz Castle was supposed to be it. Perched on a cliff in Germany, this fortress was reserved for Allied officers with too many escape attempts on their record. So, naturally, the Colditz story became one of the most thrilling chronicles of prisoners who refused to give up. Director Guy Hamilton, who would later direct Goldfinger, turns the film into a chess match between captors and captives. John Mills plays Pat Reed, whose memoir inspired the film, and Eric Portman gives an icy performance as the commandant trying to maintain order among chaos. The authenticity is no accident. Many of the technical advisors were actual Colditz survivors who helped recreate the layout routines and the incredible methods of disguise and deception used during escape attempts. They confirmed the film got the details right, from coded letters to dummy uniforms stitched out of scraps. It's both a history lesson and a suspense thriller. No other film captures the unspoken rivalry, the boredom, and the bursts of creativity that defined real POW life. By the time the climactic breakout comes, you're not cheering for victory, you're holding your breath because it feels like you're digging with them. Number 2. Stalag 17, 1953. Before The Great Escape made prison breakouts heroic, Stalag 17 made them human and hilariously cynical. Billy Wilder's darkly funny masterpiece drops you into a barracks full of American airmen who suspect one of their own of selling secrets to the guards. William Holden, in an Oscar-winning performance, plays Sefton, a smart, sarcastic realist who trades with the Germans for small comforts and earns everyone's hatred. But when escape attempts start failing, the finger points to him. Wilder turns suspicion into high-tension comedy balancing bleakness with sharp dialogue. The script, adapted from the stage play by real veterans, nails the camp's daily grind. The cold mornings, the whispered bets, the gallows humor that kept men alive. POWs who saw the film said it got their world right, the mockery, the mistrust, the strange camaraderie. Holden himself refused to play Sefton as a saint, giving us a flawed but relatable survivor. It's not the kind of story where the walls fall and everyone runs free. Instead, it shows that even in captivity, freedom begins with clarity, knowing who you are when everyone doubts you. Wilder's wit and grit make Stalag 17 the gold standard for POW realism with bite. Number 1. The Great Escape, 1963. You can't talk about POW films without this one. The Great Escape isn't just a movie, it's a myth, an anthem of resilience, and for many former prisoners, a rare example that got it right. Based on Paul Brickhill's book about the real Stalag Luft III breakout, it follows a group of Allied prisoners who plan an audacious escape through a network of tunnels named Tom, Dick, and Harry. Director John Sturges assembled an international cast: Steve McQueen, Richard Attenborough, James Garner, Charles Bronson, and shot much of it using accurate layouts and real POW accounts. Survivors confirmed the authenticity of the teamwork, the coded signals, even the constant noise discipline to hide tunneling. The movie's mix of humor, ingenuity, and heartbreak mirrors exactly how many remembered those days. They said it captured the spirit more than the facts, the hope that refused to die. McQueen's motorcycle chase never happened, but veterans didn't care. They saw themselves in the faces in the dirt, in the dream of open sky. For them, the Great Escape wasn't just entertainment, it was remembrance. When the final trumpet fades, what lingers isn't the action, it's the silence that follows the echo of courage that never really escaped. Every fence, every tunnel, every heartbeat in these stories leads to one truth. Freedom isn't a place, it's a decision. These 15 films didn't just dramatize escape, they preserved what it felt like to live with hope in a hopeless world. Which of these stories gripped you the most? Drop your pick in the comments, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who loves true grit on film. Because courage, even caged, never stays quiet for long.